Hi guys, it's Sarah. Today I wanted to show you guys how to do a little model bone structure, face, cheekbone, jaw look. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do sunken cheekbones, prominent cheekbones, a defined jaw that's like dainty and V-shaped. Okay, obviously I'm going to be doing this on my face, but it is basically applicable to all faces. You just need to change the shapes around a little bit, so like the dimensions and the shapes based on your face, but the principles are the same for that kind of look. This is not for like a round if you want like a cute little face. It's not for like if you want to maximize your jaw. It's not that. It's what I described, and this will work if you want to do that. You just have to kind of cater it a little bit to your face size and shape, but you can figure out how to do that quite easily. The reason I wanted to make this video on YouTube is because there's a lot of misinformation about contour online, and I don't think I've really seen more than like 2 or 3 people even describe it correctly. And yeah, based on like makeup theory and like how light and shadows work. So I've made a video on TikTok and it blew up a little bit and got a lot of stitches from big influencers, and they recreated how I did like my model cheekbone contour, whatever it was, and it was cool, really cool to see, and I loved it. But it got really simplified over time, and it literally ended up to the point where people were literally just making a shape like this on their face. And yeah, it's fun to watch and everything, and obviously those videos, I have no problem with them existing. It's just that faces have very like nuanced shade and light and dimensions and softness and harshness and all these different things that one big shape that's like the same throughout, the same thickness, the same amount of product that is just like blended simply, is not gonna account for all of that. And that's where the whole notion of contour doesn't look normal in real life comes from, when it actually can. Also, there's a whole thing of like people using the wrong shade, because a lot of people don't use actual contour shades. Obviously, like, wrong is wrong, but like theoretically those shades don't contour your face. A contour is a shadow. So yeah, I just wanted to basically clear everything up and make a whole video that can just like give you the information, so you don't have to like watch a billion things and be super confused on how to do this. And you know, I'd rather you contour your face than get like a surgery. Like, please don't remove your buccal fat, okay? For surgeries, I'm very like, okay, if you really want to do it, do it. But like, buccal fat is not one of those things. I don't think it should be removed. Personally, I'm not a plastic surgeon at all, but it's good for you. You need your buccal fat. It literally has like stem cells in it. It's where stem cells are made or something like that. But I don't know. I've heard too many things that are like, please, I need to just tell you guys, do your research before you want to remove buccal fat. If you're considering it, please just try this contour first. I'm gonna begin by showing you guys, by the way, my notes are here. You know why I'm looking there. I'm gonna start by showing you guys how people usually do it on social media. So they'll take a shade like this, which is like a dark bronze kind of shade, and I feel like you already know what I'm gonna say, but I'll save it for later. I'm just gonna show you how they do it. It's usually quite dark, and they're always like, okay, you want to place it high up. The higher it is, the higher your cheekbone will look. Okay, that's what they always say. And it's usually a stick. This is the closest thing I have. And then they just do it like kind of loosely on the cheekbone, on the jawbone, and then like a little bit. They're like, oh, I want a smaller forehead. They'll just do that. Okay, and then they always say blend upwards. Blend upwards, your cheekbone will be higher. Models have high cheekbones. Blend upwards, blend upwards, blend upwards. That's what you always hear. Now, we're gonna explain this later, but this is not, the whole like high cheekbone thing is also a bit, doesn't really work for everybody, even if you want the model look, okay? And I'm gonna explain that in a second. But yeah, they blend up, and nothing wrong with this if you like it, but I'm gonna kind of explain what this is doing. I brought it a little bit far down, but you know, imagine this higher up. I'm just blending everything in. Now, this doesn't look at all bad. Okay, then they clean this up with concealer. They say you want to make that line sharp, sharp, sharp. Clean it up underneath with concealer. get to that, okay? And they just kind of blend it out. Usually they even like bake underneath it, they go even further. And yeah, it works for some people, but for this look, not quite. Let's talk about what this does. This kind of does look good on the cheekbones, okay? But the reason it does, and it does kind of lift the cheekbones, is because this is more of a bronzer shade than a contour shade. It has warmth to it, and I should have used something a little bit darker because this isn't exactly the type of shade you see people use. Like, it's more like the Charlotte Tilbury contour one kind of shade, which again is not exactly contour. It's too rich, too dark for the people it's marketed for, okay? And yeah, so what this is doing is attracting the warmth to the cheekbone, and it's also warming up the face, like in relation to the jaw and the forehead. It's just warming it up. Looks fine, right? Normal thing, normal place to put bronzer. What it's doing over here is it's mimicking a suntan, okay? So if you think about it, bronzer looks like a tan to the eye, and a tan comes from the sun, and when things get tanned by the sun, they're usually more prominent, because things that stick out will like get sunburnt from like being close to the sun. That's why your nose gets sunburnt really easily. Well, not close to the sun, but just more prominent for the sun to hit on. So the eye is tricked into thinking this part is more prominent if you place your bronzer higher, because it looks like that part's sticking out, so it got tanned by the sun. Fine for bronzer, makes sense. It's kind of similar to blush. But if this was with a normal contour shade, a realistic contour shade, it would not be doing that. So let's talk about what a contour actually is. A contour is something that's going to create a shadow, okay? It's going to sink it in, going to make it look hollow wherever you place it, okay? Now imagine you're placing your contour here. What would that do? A realistic contour. It would sink in the cheekbone. It's not going to make it stick out. The higher you put it, the part where you place it on is going to stick in, not out. It's not going to pop out, it's going to sink in. So if I wanted to go higher and higher, it would just make this go inwards, okay? Counterintuitive. Contour is something that's cool toned, not warm. Usually they use bronzers rather than bronzers or contours, which is like, I know it's an old term, but it is just accurate for what I'm trying to describe. It's like something in between a bronzer and a contour. It's kind of like a dark bronzer or a warm contour. So it's neither bronzer or contour. It's often used as both, and it's not doing the job of either, really. I like to use bronzers for glam looks to just define the areas in between contour and bronzer, and it just looks really cool and seamless and like just really gorgeous for glam looks. But it is not a natural thing that appears on faces like bronzer or contour mimics. Contour, again, it's not gonna be gray. A lot of people say contour doesn't look realistic in real life. It looks maybe like, you know, when people do like cosplay and they'll be like, let me look like Bella Hadid, and they'll put like crazy gray over here and it looks sunken in, but in real life obviously that's gonna look crazy. That's why like gray is really often used for like theater makeup, to be seen from far away and everything. But yeah, what you want is something that's gonna look natural, so it's in between your skin tone, gray, and a little bit of black. So it's just gonna be maybe like a couple shades darker than your skin tone, and then add gray to it. That's gonna be your contour shade. So for me, it looks like this. Everything looks more orange on my camera for some reason. It's a lot more grayish in person, but hopefully you can kind of tell a little bit. It's a little bit, barely much darker than my skin tone, and it has a little bit of gray to it. So yeah, again, grayer in person. I won't be using this because it doesn't look exactly realistic on camera, but it is a good shade when I'm wearing my foundation for camera, but I'm not. So let's talk about highlighting, because we kind of highlighted, even though we cleaned it up, it's essentially highlighting underneath. So by using a lighter shade to clean up, highlighting brings the eye to wherever it's put. So the lighter the color on your face, the more your eye is going to be drawn to it, and the more it's going to look like it's sticking out. So wherever you place it, it's going to look like it's popping out. So it's opposite to contour. Contour sinks things in, highlight will pop things out. Okay, so let's go back to this. So this was not contouring me, and it was more bronzing me, but I don't really have the bronzer shade that I'm kind of referring to, but if I did, it wouldn't be doing either. Yeah, By highlighting over here, what we've done is maximize the jaw area. And by placing this higher, if it was a real contour, if this was a real contour, by placing it higher up, imagine like this being sunken in and this being highlighted. That would look like the cheekbone area is very small and the jaw area is very large. Also, by highlighting it, it's bringing that forward and pushing this in. So it looked like you have a very pushed in small cheekbone and a very large pushed out jaw area, including this buccal area, buccal, buccal, I'm not sure. But yeah, especially if you don't want to maximize your jaw area and you want to maximize your cheekbone area, it is literally the opposite of what you should be doing if this was done with a proper contour shade. So yeah, let's talk about what you maybe could be doing better if you're trying to achieve the look that I talked about in the beginning. I do a lot of sketching, or at least I used to, and I love to draw model faces. And one thing I realized is the shape of their cheekbones are usually the same. And I think most people do just have that cheekbone shape naturally, but it goes like horizontal here. You can feel on your own face, and then at a point it kind of goes and dips downwards. So it's kind of this shape, okay? And that's how I'm kind of going to draw the cheekbone. And in models, that is very pronounced. I'm sure if you look up a model, you will see that. For contour, I'm going to be using a very precise brush just to kind of show you. I don't really have the right brush for it, but it would be something in between this brush and this brush. Ideally, I would be using a cream, but again, I showed you my cream. It's not going to really look realistic on camera. If I wear my foundation, I'll usually use a bit of the warmer shade. This is like a warm tone version of this. For like, I mean, it's not actually warm tone, but it's for warm tone people. So if you're like warm tone, you can use this shade. If you're cool tone, you can use this shade. For me, when I wear foundation, I use this shade because it's a bit warmer, and I use this without foundation. This is from Kaleidos. It's really, really good. However, this is the shade Light. Okay, that's going back to the idea of how like contours are marketed. Light shades are usually for people with my complexion, and I'm not exactly light. I'd say I'm medium to light, but when I'm tan, I'd say I'm a bit more of a medium. But again, I'm not tan right now at all, and this is my shade, the Light palette. It makes a little bit of sense, but I would say a step up would be necessary for this, but usually they're very incorrectly marketed. Like this Fenty one doesn't work for me very well when I don't have foundation on, and it's marketed for fair skin, the amber, and it doesn't look like a normal, like natural contour on fair skin, even though I know so many fair skin people who use it. But I literally only use that when I have foundation on and if I'm not like doing my makeup for the camera, because it is just, it's marketed for the wrong people. It should be marketed for more of medium shades. Anyways, back to this. Imagine it's a little bit lighter and cooler than it is on camera. So I'm just gonna lightly dip in, and I'm gonna show you the kind of shape I was just talking about. So it goes this way first, and notice I'm going under the cheekbone, not on top of it, because contour sinks things in. I want to do it underneath. I want to sink the underneath part in, not the actual cheekbone. And me personally, I don't like to place it higher up because I don't want to lift my cheekbone. I want it to stay where it is, because if I lifted my cheekbone, this area would become like, it would look a lot longer, and I don't want that to happen. I want this area to be minimized, this area to be maximized. Now I'm just lightly flicking it here. You can already see how that's creating a kind of natural shadow. This is like just my normal shadow, and now it's being enhanced, and it looks very different from what I did here. And I'm gonna go really lightly below it. I wish I had like a little bit less hair on my face right now so you could really see, but kind of going underneath. Sorry if I have like it looks like my skin's flaking off. It's just my hair gel. It just does that, okay? Also in my hair. I'm just doing little circles, kind of going downwards because I want the shadow to be underneath. So I'm diffusing it downwards. And then I can go in with this a tiny bit more and just blend over top. Now it's going to be very subtle on camera. I can try to do it a little bit more, but I want you guys to be able to replicate this by yourselves. You can see how it looks on your own face. I'm just going to show you how to do it. It might not be as accurate as it looks in real life, but I do this for professional cameras when I'm allowed to do my makeup for my own modeling shoots, and it looks great, really natural. But on this like iPhone camera, it's not gonna look the best, but you can replicate it. Now for the buccal fat area, now we've defined the cheekbone. For the buccal fat area, buccal fat, you can kind of tell where it is by pressing your finger. And over here is your masseter, and when your masseter drops off, you can feel your teeth through your skin right here. So when you feel your teeth, that's where you want to be placing the contour. A lot of people place it way too far out and it doesn't look natural. You want to place it right where you can feel your teeth. And really lightly diffuse that, blend it in. You can see how it's just sucking my cheeks in slowly, and it doesn't look crazy. Like, it just looks like a natural little shadow. Now, next we're gonna slim the jaw a little bit. So right now on this side, it's highlighted and it looks like it's sticking out here. So we're gonna do the opposite on this side. This is why you cannot be doing just a shape and blending it, because each requires different amount of diffusion and amount of product, each area of this that we're trying to contour. You just need to address each area separately. And so I've just taken a little bit, really small amount, and I'm gonna, literally, I'm just going here. And you can see how that starts to bring it in a little bit. Hopefully you can see, I don't know. But I can kind of tell how it's going like this, slightly more rather than sticking out like here. So if I like pin my ears back, I don't know if you can see, this now already looks a bit more like it's going inwards. This doesn't, and this jaw is actually smaller than this jaw. This one is a lot more square, and you can already kind of see what the contour has done just because of the light and shade. Now what you can do to define the jaw, you can either go right under your jaw, don't go on it unless you're trying to change the shape. So I like to make it look a little bit more sharp. My jaw is like this, okay, but you can't really tell because I have a bit of extra like lymph, whatever it is, fat, I don't really know. But yeah, it's there and it doesn't make my jaw look very defined. And it makes it look like in a place where it isn't. So I'm gonna go where my natural jaw actually is, which is right here. And I'm gonna deepen that shadow a lot more than it is right now. And then I'm gonna feel right here again where it starts. You can even do this if you want to make a little double chin. If you have a double chin, that's great, that works too. I naturally have a little bit of one, but if I push it out, it just helps do the contour a lot better, because then you can kind of really feel where the jaw is, and you go like kind of in a straight line up until you meet the point where you want the corner to be. So my corner is going to be right here. I'm going to go like this. I learned this little trick from Alex Anil, I don't know, on YouTube. She's really great. And yeah, just doing right here, because when you move, even if you don't have any type of double chin, when you move, it kind of comes out sometimes. If that's something you want to make look sharper, just doing this as if like you're in that position, it just helps you get it a lot better. And then yeah, you want to make sure these corners meet at a nice and sharp point, but you don't want to go in with more product right here, otherwise it's going to look unnatural. Now you can take some more and just go right underneath everything you just did and blend it downwards and outwards, just really lightly with a fluffier brush. You can also go under here, create a little V right here, so it makes it as if your chin is creating a shadow on your neck, because it's like that sharp. And you don't want to go on your chin if you're trying to make your jaw look more like a V-line shape, otherwise it's going to shorten the chin. You want to make sure it goes like this, okay? So I'm going right underneath and creating a little bit of a V shape. Now, a lot of people like to put contour right here because it can like snatch the eye a little bit, but for me, I have a little bit of a sunken in temple. I don't like to do that, so I like to go right above that to kind of counter it. So I'll use a little bit right here. And because I like my forehead to look taller, I can do a little bit on the sides. And that'll make it look more narrow and tall. And it's very subtle. But if you do this in the mirror and you copy what I'm doing, you will see the difference. Now, we're not cleaning up underneath. We just did all those shadows underneath for a reason. Hopefully my reasoning made sense. If you want, you can highlight or conceal or clean up on top right here. Just going to take a little bit on my finger so it's not like harsh. You don't want to draw a harsh line. It's just going to look unnatural. So right here where I want my cheekbone to stick out, I can place a lighter concealer, because again, what you highlight sticks out, pops out, what you contour goes in. Now, just by like that tiny amount of product I used, look at the difference. So you have this side, which, okay, does its thing. We explained that, has some good, has some not so good. And then this is just a completely different thing. It's sucked in my cheekbones, it's made my jaw more defined, made my cheekbone more prominent, and did what I did to my forehead. Yeah, you can just, it's just different things. And one is contour and one isn't exactly contour. I just wanted to clear everything up. Oh, my lip. Sorry about that. But yeah, hopefully it all makes sense. If you have questions, let me know. If you try it, please let me know how it goes, because I know camera is like not going to pick up everything very well, but if you see this, how it looks on your face in real life, hopefully you'll understand. I hope I explained everything well. Yeah, I just dream of a day where contour is done with more like in a more mindful way. Hopefully we're getting there. Anyways, thank you for watching, and yeah, see you next time.